Hey, welcome back to the program. Are you afraid of ISIS? Their attacks are undeniably gruesome and designed to get maximum attention, from the foiled plot to conduct demonstration beheadings in Australia to their latest video. And their strategy seems to be working. The most recent CNN ORC poll found that only 10% of Americans don't think ISIS poses a serious threat to the U.S. 90% of us take the threat seriously. Police are stepping up security in New York's Times Square. But are we all wrong? Nick Gillespie says we shouldn't be scared of ISIS, and he says we're playing into the terrorists' hands by overreacting. He joins us now along with Bernard Kerik. Bernard Kerik was the New York Police Commissioner on the day of the worst terror attack on U.S. soil, September 11. He says the threat is real and that New York is prepared. Nick, defend that statement that you think that this is an overreaction and we should not fear ISIS.
Yeah, well, the global war on terror, as we've been fighting it for, going on close to 15 years, has always suffered from massive threat inflation. We blow up minimal risks into major catastrophes waiting to happen and act accordingly. The entire, kind of existence of the Transportation Security Administration, I think, points to that. In particular with ISIS, ISIS is a threat to Iraq and Syria and the Middle East. It is not a threat to the United States, and that's something that both the Department of Homeland Security as well as the FBI say. And I really think by launching U.S. initiatives against ISIS in Iraq and now in Syria, we're actually working to internationalize ISIS's attention. It's been based, it's called the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, not Iraq, Syria, and Sheboygan, Michigan, for a reason. We're actually drawing their attention to the United States by going in there when there are militaries, from places like Iraq, where we trained over 250,000 people, Iran that has 500,000 active troops, Syria, which has its own army, the Peshmerga, the Kurds who are doing very well against it with 250,000 troops. Those are the people who need to be fighting and containing ISIS in the Middle East,
Bernard,
not us pulling it into the U.S.
Bernard, to Nick's point, it doesn't seem as if their goal is to establish a caliphate in Indiana.
No, he's right. They don't. But here's the problem. We have anywhere, depending on who you listen to, between 100 and 1,000 Americans that have now gone into Syria and Iraq to engage in some of the most savage and brutal behavior that I've seen since Saddam was dethroned. Those guys, those people are coming back here. They're going to come back to the United States, and they're going to melt back into the communities like some kind of chameleon. ISIS has undoubtedly the best social media and communications network of any terror organization we have seen to date, and it's getting better constantly. We have to keep on top of that. We've got to make sure that they're shutting down these sites that they're using, the Twitter sites, the Facebook sites. You can, as fast as we have been shutting them down, they're getting back up and running, and they are calling for attacks in this country, just like we saw the other day in Australia. I believe that's going to happen. These people that are over there now, they're going to use their American passports to come back to this country. They're going to get in through the borders that, for the most part, are not secure, and we're going to have problems internally.
Well, I share your concern, but I guess, Nick, the worry I have is that by going over there, we're giving them what they want in terms of a recruitment device, and that we're actually increasing the odds that what Bernard is worried about, what I'm worried about, comes true.
Yeah. I agree with you on that, Michael. I think that, by turning this into a proxy war where America is involved, we're saying basically to ISIS that, yeah, you have a rationale for coming over here. And again, none of this is to support ISIS. I have nothing but contempt for ISIS. And I think Bernie is right that, these are savage, barbarous people who need to be taken care of. It's not our fight. To the extent that there are Americans who have gone over there, and if it's 100 or 1,000, I think we should be able to rest assured that our National Intelligence Administration, our security apparatus, is tracking these people and keeping touch on them. That is the way that it always has to be. If you start doing dragnets and if you start overreacting, you're actually giving the terrorists exactly what they're looking for, which is instilling fear and terror through a population when there's really no call for it. We should be locating and identifying and tracking the people we know who are involved in ISIS who have ties to the United States, and that's, you know, that's how we deal with it.
Bernard, has there been an overreaction by law enforcement insofar as police departments across the country have been offered war machinery since Iraq, since Afghanistan? They've accepted it, and now we're armed to the teeth in Mayberry RFD.
You know what, Michael, it's almost like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. The problem is if we are not prepared for something in the future, then people will look back at these agencies and say, you should have, would have, could have.
Right.
At the end of the day, we have to be prepared. These attacks are going to continue for decades to come, whether you call it ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, or whatever, you name it. There is an extremist, radical Muslim element that wants the demise of this country, and there are some here, there are many coming here. That fight is going to continue, and the U.S. law enforcement agencies have to be prepared for that fight.
Gentlemen, Nick Gillespie, Bernie Kerik, thank you so much for being here.